Welcome back to another story on Infidelity Tales Studio. Before we begin, tell us where in the world are you watching from? Now, let's dive into today's story. I was in the middle of debugging a critical production issue when my phone rang. Dr. Samantha Patel. I almost didn't answer. My company's servers were melting down, costing us about $10,000 per minute of downtime, but something about seeing her name made me pick up. Marcus, I need you to come to the clinic immediately. Her voice had that carefully controlled tone doctors use when they're about to deliver devastating news. It's about the genetic screening results. My stomach dropped. Is it cancer? My heart? No, nothing like that. But Marcus, you need to come in person. I can't discuss this over the phone. I'd done the genetic health screening 3 weeks ago. One of those comprehensive panels that checks for hereditary conditions, cancer markers, all of it. At 38, with 2 kids and a wife who worked as a pediatric nurse, being proactive about health seemed responsible. Elena had actually encouraged it, said she wanted me around for a long time. The irony of that would hit me later. I told my team to handle the server crisis and drove to the Pacific Northwest Genetics Center, the same clinic where Dr. Patel had treated my mother for breast cancer 5 years ago. Mom didn't make it, but Dr. Patel had been compassionate beyond measure. When she'd apologized for not being able to save her, I donated $50,000 to the clinic's research fund in my mother's name. Dr. Patel had cried, said it would help save other mothers. She was waiting for me in her office, and the expression on her face made my hands go cold. Marcus, please sit down. She slid a folder across the desk. I've reviewed your results multiple times. I've had 3 other geneticists confirm what I'm seeing. There's no error. What is it? Doctor. Patel took a breath. The genetic markers we found don't match the profile you'd need to be the biological father of your children. The words hit me like a physical blow. What? I cross-referenced with the samples from Sophie and Nathan's medical records. You remember, they both had genetic testing done for that school research project last year. The data was in our system. She opened another file. Marcus, the genetic markers are completely incompatible. There's zero possibility that you're their biological father. I sat there, my brain trying to process impossible information. Sophie was 12. Nathan was 9. I'd been at both births. Held Elena's hand, cut the umbilical cords, been the first person to hold them. There has to be a mistake. I thought so too. That's why I ran every test 3 times. I even checked for chimerism, mosaicism, any biological anomaly that could explain this. Dr. Patel's voice was gentle but firm. Marcus, I'm so sorry, but there's no mistake. Biologically, those aren't your children. I don't remember driving home. Don't remember walking into the house. Elena was making dinner, humming along to some song on the radio. Sophie was doing homework at the kitchen table. Nathan was building something with Legos in the living room. My perfect family, my perfect life, all of it built on a lie. Hey honey, you're home early. Elena smiled. That same smile I'd loved for 13 years. How was work? We need to talk. My voice sounded dead even to my own ears. Kids, go to your rooms. Sophie looked up, sensing something wrong. Dad? Now, please. They went, exchanging worried glances. Elena's smile faded. Marcus, what's wrong? I placed the folder on the kitchen counter. I had genetic testing done. Comprehensive screening. Dr. Patel called me today. The color drained from Elena's face. That told me everything I needed to know before I even opened my mouth again. They're not mine, are they? I said it flatly, without emotion, because if I let myself feel anything right now, I'd break. Sophie and Nathan. They're not my biological children. Elena's hand went to her mouth. For a long moment, she just stood there, frozen. Then she started to cry. Marcus, I can explain. Explain? The word came out harsher than I intended. Explain what? Explain how you let me raise 2 children for over a decade thinking they were mine? Explain how you looked me in the eye every single day and lied? I didn't lie. I just... Don't you dare. I was shaking now, rage and pain mixing into something I'd never felt before. Don't you fucking dare tell me you didn't lie. Who's the father, Elena? Who? She collapsed into a chair, sobbing. Ryan. Ryan Mitchell. The name hit me like another punch. Ryan Mitchell. Her high school boyfriend. The one she'd told me was ancient history. The one she'd promised me meant nothing. How? I demanded. How did this happen? We reconnected on Facebook about 14 years ago, just casual messages at first. Then we met for coffee. Marcus, I swear, I never meant for it to become, you've been seeing him for 14 years? No, it wasn't like that. We had an affair, yes, but only for a few months. I got pregnant with Sophie, and I wasn't sure who the father was. But by the time I knew, we were already so happy about the baby, and I thought maybe what? Maybe I wouldn't notice? And Nathan, you did this twice? Elena's voice dropped to a whisper. After Sophie was born, I knew. She has Ryan's eyes, his smile. I ended things with him. I swear I did. But then a few years later, he reached out again. Said he knew about Sophie. Said he had a right to see his daughter. So, you slept with him again and got pregnant again? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This woman I'd loved, trusted, built a life with. It was one time, Marcus. One mistake. And then I was pregnant with Nathan, and I couldn't. I couldn't take another child away from you. You were such a good father. I thought I could just keep the secret forever. I laughed. A harsh sound with no humor in it. Keep the secret. You took out a life insurance policy on me 6 months ago, Elena. $2 million. Who's the beneficiary? Her face went white. I did some research on my way home, I continued. When you take out a large life insurance policy, there's a record. I checked our accounts, found the policy, found the beneficiary, Ryan Mitchell. Want to explain that? Marcus, no. It's not what you think. Then what is it? I was standing over her now, and she shrank back in her chair. You insure my life for $2 million with your lover as the beneficiary. The same lover who fathered both of my kids. The same kids who aren't actually mine. What the hell am I supposed to think? It was Ryan's idea. He said it was just insurance, in case something happened naturally. He said what, Elena? That if I conveniently died, you two could be together? That he could finally have his family? How long have you been planning this? I wasn't planning anything. Marcus, please, you have to believe me. I love you. I've always loved you. I looked at this woman, this stranger, wearing my wife's face, and felt nothing but cold emptiness. Get out of my house. What? Get out. Pack a bag and get out. I don't want to see you right now. Marcus, the kids stay with me. You want to explain to Sophie and Nathan why mommy has to leave? Or should I do it? Should I tell them the truth about who their real father is? Elena stood, trembling. Please don't do this. I'm not doing anything. You did this. You did all of this. I pulled out my phone. You have 1 hour to pack and leave. If you're not gone, I'm calling the police. She went upstairs. I could hear her moving around, crying, making phone calls. I sat at the kitchen table and stared at nothing. Sophie came downstairs. Dad? What's happening? Why is Mom crying? I looked at my daughter. Ryan's daughter. Those eyes that weren't mine. That smile that came from someone else. But she was still the little girl who'd clung to my neck during thunderstorms. Who'd made me breakfast in bed for Father's Day. Who called me Dad. Your mom and I are having some problems, sweetheart. She's going to stay somewhere else for a while. Are you getting divorced? God, was I? Could I? These kids. I'd raised them, changed their diapers, taught them to ride bikes, helped with homework. They were mine in every way that mattered except the one way that was supposed to matter most. I don't know yet, but everything's going to be okay. I promise. It was the first lie I told my children, or maybe just the first one I knew about. Elena left without saying goodbye to the kids. I heard her car pull away and felt something break inside me. Then I did what I always did when things got complicated. I called Daniel Rodriguez. Daniel and I went back to college. He was a corporate lawyer now, specialized in complex divorces and asset protection. More importantly, he was the most ruthless person I knew when it came to protecting his clients. Marcus, it's almost 10. This better be good. Daniel, I need your help. Can you come over? Something in my voice must have told him this was serious. Give me 30 minutes. He showed up with his laptop bag and a bottle of whiskey. After I explained everything, he poured us both 3 fingers of Jameson and sat back. Okay. First question. Do you want to keep the kids? Of course, I want to keep the kids. They're my kids. Legally, yes. Biologically, no. That's going to be a problem in family court, especially if Ryan decides he wants custody. Can he do that? If he can prove paternity, he has parental rights. but you're on the birth certificates. You've been acting as their father for their entire lives. We can argue that removing you from their lives would be harmful to their well-being. Daniel made notes on his laptop. But Marcus, if Elena and Ryan decide to fight this together, it's going to get ugly. Very ugly. What about the life insurance policy? Daniel's head snapped up. What life insurance policy? I explained. Daniel's expression got darker. Marcus, that's conspiracy to commit murder. If they were actually planning to kill you, I don't know if they were. Elena claims it was just Ryan's idea, just insurance in case something happened naturally. Bullshit. Nobody takes out a $2 million policy on their husband and names their lover as beneficiary unless they're planning something. Daniel started typing rapidly. We need evidence. Everything. Phone records, financial records, any communication between Elena and Ryan. Can you get into her phone? I know her passcode. Good. Do it. Screenshot everything. Every text, every email, every call log. We need to establish a pattern of deception and potentially criminal intent. I went upstairs to where Elena kept her phone charger. Her phone was still there, probably forgotten in her rush to leave. I unlocked it and started scrolling. The messages to Ryan went back 14 years. Thousands of them. I started screenshotting, my hands shaking as I read through years of lies. Miss you. Wish we could be together. Marcus doesn't suspect anything. The kids are yours. You should know that. I dream about the four of us being a real family. Then, from 6 months ago, Ryan wants to discuss something important, meeting him tomorrow. The next day, he showed me life insurance options. Said it could secure our future. I kept scrolling, feeling sick. Then I found something from 3 weeks ago that made my blood run cold. Ryan, when are you going to tell him the truth? Elena, I can't. He'll take the kids away from me. Ryan, they're my kids, Elena, not his. I'm tired of watching him play father to my children. Elena, please be patient. We talked about this. Once everything is in place. Ryan, once everything is in place, he won't be a problem anymore. I took screenshots of everything and sent them to Daniel's encrypted email. Then I went through Elena's bank records, credit cards, everything. That's when I found it. Over the past 2 years, Elena had been systematically moving money out of our joint accounts. Not huge amounts that would trigger alerts, but steady withdrawals. 2,000 here, 3,000 there. Usually cash, sometimes transfers to accounts I didn't recognize. I added it all up, over $90,000, gone. Daniel, you need to see this. He came upstairs and looked at the evidence. His face was grim. Marcus, this is bigger than a divorce. This is fraud, conspiracy, possibly attempted murder. We need to involve the police. No, the word came out harder than I intended. Not yet. If we go to the police now, Ryan disappears and Elena lawyers up. I want to know exactly what they were planning before we pull that trigger. Daniel studied my face. What are you thinking? I'm thinking that I spent 5 years building security software for the Department of Defense before going into private sector. I'm thinking that I know people who can dig deeper than any police investigation. And I'm thinking that Elena and Ryan have no idea I know any of this. Marcus, if you're planning something illegal, I'm not. But I am planning something thorough. I pulled out my laptop. You handle the legal side. Make sure the kids are protected, that Elena can't take them. I'll handle gathering evidence. Daniel nodded slowly. I'll file for emergency custody tomorrow morning. With the life insurance policy and the financial fraud, I can make a strong case. But Marcus, be careful, if Ryan is as dangerous as these messages suggest. I grew up in San Francisco's Tenderloin district, Daniel. I know how to handle dangerous men. After Daniel left, I sat in my home office and made a call to someone I hadn't spoken to in 5 years. Marcus Chen might be a respectable software engineer now, but I grew up as Marco Chen, a kid who learned to code in libraries because it was safer than being on the streets. I changed my name when I went to college, tried to leave that world behind. But I still had connections. Vic? It's Marco. I need a favor. Victor Castillo had been my mentor when I was 16 and learning to navigate the digital underground. He taught me that information was power, and power was survival. Now he ran a private security firm that specialized in corporate intelligence. The kind of intelligence that stayed in gray legal areas. Marco. Haven't heard that name in a while. What do you need? Complete surveillance on 2 people. I need to know everywhere they go, Everyone they talk to, every transaction they make, and I need it starting yesterday. Names? I gave him Elena and Ryan's information. Also, I need you to run deep background on Ryan Mitchell. Criminal history, civil suits, restraining orders, bankruptcies, everything. This is personal, isn't it? Very. Gonna cost you 20 grand for deep dive, plus expenses. Wire details? He gave them to me, and I transferred the money immediately. How fast can you get me information? Basic profile by tomorrow morning. Complete workup in 72 hours. Victor delivered on time. The email that arrived at 6 a.m. was 60 pages long, and every page made my blood boil. Ryan Mitchell, 38, real estate developer. Net worth approximately $3 million, mostly in properties. Divorced twice. One restraining order filed against him by his first wife, alleging domestic violence and stalking. Charges dropped after settlement. Another restraining order from a former girlfriend. Pattern of controlling behavior with women. History of luxury purchases followed by cash flow problems. And then the interesting part. 3 months ago, Ryan had taken out a business loan for $200,000. The loan was secured against a property that, according to public records, wasn't worth more than $150,000. He'd inflated the appraisal. He needed money, badly. The life insurance policy on me started to make perfect sense. Ryan had gambling debts, bad investments, and a lifestyle he couldn't afford. Elena had access to a wealthy husband who could be worth $2 million dead. I called Dr. Patel. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me. Of course, Marcus. When you ran those genetic tests, you found something else, didn't you? Something about Sophie and Nathan's genetics that concerned you beyond just the paternity. There was a long pause. I wasn't going to mention it because it seemed cruel to add to what you're dealing with, but yes. Both children show markers for a genetic disorder. Nothing serious, just a predisposition to early heart disease. It's manageable with medication and lifestyle changes, but they should be monitored. Does Elena know? I sent the results to her last week, since she's their medical proxy. She should have received them. But Elena hadn't mentioned it. Hadn't told me that the children I'd raised for over a decade had a genetic condition. Because she was too busy planning God knows what with Ryan. I called Vic again. I need you to add surveillance to Elena's sister, Jessica Novak. I want to know if Elena's staying with her, what they're talking about. On it. 3 days later, I had a complete picture. Elena was staying with Jessica, who apparently knew about the affair and had been covering for Elena for years. The sisters met with Ryan twice during those 3 days, always at his office or in parking lots. My surveillance picked up fragments of conversations. Ryan pushing Elena to speed things up. Elena worrying about the kids. Ryan insisting that once they had the insurance money, they could get a fresh start. Maybe Costa Rica. No extradition for financial crimes under a certain threshold. They were planning to run. With my money, and possibly with my children. Over my dead body. Literally, if they had their way. I called Daniel. File the divorce papers. Adultery, fraud, alienation of affection, everything. And I want a restraining order on Ryan Mitchell. He comes within 500 feet of my kids. I want him arrested. I'll have everything ready by tomorrow. But Marcus, I'm worried about your mental state. You sound focused. I sound focused, Daniel. These people tried to destroy my life. I'm just making sure they don't succeed. The next morning, Elena was served with divorce papers at her sister's house. Her lawyer called me within an hour, demanding mediation. Mr. Chen, my client is willing to discuss a reasonable settlement. She acknowledges that mistakes were made. Mistakes? I couldn't help but laugh. Your client committed fraud, adultery, and conspiracy. She's stolen nearly $100,000 from our accounts. She's lied about the paternity of both children for over a decade. And she took out a life insurance policy on me with her lover as beneficiary. Mistakes? We're prepared to contest the paternity claims. Mrs. Chen has been the primary caregiver. Mrs. Chen has been systematically preparing to either kill me or flee the country. I have evidence. Lots of evidence. Tell your client she has 2 options. Sign over full custody of Sophie and Nathan to me, or I go to the police with everything I have and let the district attorney decide if what she did constitutes attempted murder. The lawyer sputtered. That's extortion. No, that's called consequences. You have 24 hours to decide. I hung up and called Ryan's number. I've been waiting for this. Hello? His voice was confident, smooth. The voice of a man who thought he was winning. Ryan Mitchell? This is Marcus Chen, Elena's husband. Silence. Then, I don't think we should be talking directly. I disagree. I think we should meet. In person. Tomorrow, let's say 2 p.m. at the Starbucks on Madison. Just you and me. I'm not interested in. Did you know Elena had genetic testing done on the kids? Found out they both have a heart condition they inherited. From you. They're going to need monitoring, probably medication. Expensive medication. Long-term care. More silence. Those kids you fathered and then abandoned for 12 years. They're sick, and I'm the only one who's been taking care of them. So yeah, Ryan, I think we should talk. 2 p.m. tomorrow. Be there, or I'll have a very interesting conversation with the police about that life insurance policy. I hung up before he could answer. The next day, I arrived at Starbucks 30 minutes early and chose a table in the back corner. At exactly 2 p.m., Ryan walked in. He was tall, fit, the kind of guy who probably spent 2 hours a day at the gym. Good-looking enough that I could see why Elena had fallen for him when they were kids. He sat down across from me, trying to project confidence. Marcus, I think there's been a misunderstanding. No misunderstanding. You've been sleeping with my wife for 14 years, on and off. You fathered both of my children. You convinced Elena to take out a $2 million life insurance policy on me with you as beneficiary. And you've been planning to either kill me or convince Elena to kill me so you can run off together with my money. Did I miss anything? Ryan's face went pale. I don't know what Elena told you. Elena didn't tell me anything. I found out on my own. Text messages, financial records, surveillance footage. I pulled out my phone and showed him a photo taken 2 days ago of him and Elena meeting in a parking lot. I know everything, Ryan. Everything. He recovered quickly. I'll give him that. Okay, so what do you want? I want you to understand something. Those kids you fathered? They're mine. I raised them. I was there for every nightmare, every scraped knee, every bad day at school. You want to know what Nathan's favorite book is? Or what Sophie wants to be when she grows up? No? Because you don't actually care about them. You just want to take them from me to hurt me. They're my biological children. Biology doesn't make you a father. Being there makes you a father. I leaned forward. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to disappear from Elena's life. From my life. From my children's lives. You're going to cancel that life insurance policy. And you're going to pray that I don't go to the police with evidence of conspiracy to commit insurance fraud and possibly murder. Ryan laughed, but it sounded forced. Or what? You'll beat me up? I'm not scared of you, Marcus. I smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. No, Ryan. I'm not going to beat you up. I'm going to destroy you. I have copies of every text message, every email, every phone call between you and Elena. I have evidence of financial fraud, extortion, and conspiracy. I have a P.I. who's documented every shady business deal you've made, including that fraudulent loan you took out 3 months ago. And I have connections that can make sure every single bit of this information lands on the right desks. The police, the IRS, the State Bar Association, your business partners, your investors. The color drained from Ryan's face. You're bluffing. I pulled out a folder and slid it across the table. Page 3 is particularly interesting. That's where it shows you've been embezzling from your business partners to fund your lifestyle. Page 7 documents the restraining orders from your ex-wife and girlfriend. Page 12 has testimony from Elena about your plan to flee to Costa Rica once I was dead. Want me to keep going? Ryan opened the folder with shaking hands and started reading. I watched his expression change from confidence to fear to desperation. What do you want? He finally asked. I want you gone. Out of Seattle. Out of Washington State. I don't care where you go, but you go. You sign away any parental rights to Sophie and Nathan. You cancel the life insurance policy. You never contact Elena again. And you disappear. I can't just leave. I have a business here, properties. Then I suggest you liquidate quickly. You have 1 week. If you're still in Seattle after that, everything in this folder goes public. Your business partners will sue you. The police will investigate you. And I'll make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of man you are. Elena will never go along with this. Elena doesn't have a choice. She signs custody over to me, or she goes to jail for fraud. But that's between me and her. You're done here, Ryan. You tried to take my life. My family, my money, and you failed. Now, you get to live with the consequences. I stood up to leave, then paused. Oh, and Ryan? Those kids you fathered have a genetic heart condition. They're going to need monitoring, medication, probably lifestyle changes. Just thought you should know, in case you ever wonder about them. In case you ever think about being a father. His face crumpled. For just a moment, I saw something that might have been genuine regret. Then it was gone, replaced by the cold calculation of a man trying to figure out his next move. 1 week, Ryan. Then everything goes public. I walked out and didn't look back. 5 days later, Elena signed the custody agreement. Full custody to me, with supervised visitation rights for her. She also signed an affidavit admitting to the affair, the financial fraud, and the life insurance policy. In exchange, I agreed not to press criminal charges. Ryan Mitchell sold his business in a fire sale and moved to Phoenix. The rumor was that his business partners discovered his embezzlement and gave him a choice: disappear or face prosecution. I might have had something to do with that information reaching the right ears. The divorce was finalized in 4 months. Elena got nothing except shared medical custody of the kids and the requirement that she attend therapy before supervised visits could become unsupervised. The judge took one look at the evidence and ruled that Elena's behavior had been detrimental to the children's well-being. Sophie and Nathan were confused at first. I sat them down and explained, in age-appropriate terms, that their mom and I were getting divorced because we couldn't be together anymore. I didn't tell them about the paternity. Didn't tell them about Ryan. They were my kids. The DNA didn't matter. They would learn the truth someday, maybe when they were older and could understand. But right now, they needed stability. The night after the divorce was finalized, I sat in my home office and cried for the first time since this started. Cried for the marriage I thought I had. For the family that turned out to be built on lies. For the innocence I'd lost. But I also felt something else. Relief. And a strange kind of peace. Dr. Patel called a week later. "Marcus, I wanted to check on you. How are you holding up?" "Better than expected. The kids are in therapy. I'm in therapy. We're managing. I heard about what you did for the clinic. The anonymous donation to help other parents dealing with paternity issues. That was incredibly generous. I donated another $50,000 to establish a fund for genetic counseling. If my pain could help someone else, maybe it meant something. It's what my mom would have wanted. She'd be proud of you, Marcus. Not many men could handle what you've been through with such grace." I didn't handle it with grace. I handled it with lawyers and private investigators and more anger than I knew I had. But you handled it. Your children still have their father. That's what matters. After we hung up, I looked at the photos on my desk, Sophie and Nathan at the park last weekend. Both of them smiling, happy, safe. Mine. Not biologically mine, but mine in every way that mattered. I'd learned something through all of this. Family isn't about DNA. It's about who shows up, who stays when things get hard, who sacrifices and loves and chooses to be there day after day after day. I'd shown up. For 12 years with Sophie, for 9 years with Nathan, and I'd keep showing up for as long as they needed me. That's what made me their father. Not genetics, not biology, choice. Every single day, I chose to be their dad, and that was enough. Sophie came into my office. "Dad?" Nathan and I were thinking, maybe this summer we could go to that science camp you told us about? I smiled. "Yeah, sweetheart. I think that sounds perfect." She hugged me tight. "Love you, Dad. Love you too, Sophie." And in that moment, with my daughter's arms around me, I knew that despite everything Elena and Ryan had done, despite all the lies and betrayal and pain, they hadn't won. They tried to destroy my family, and instead, they'd only made it stronger. Because family isn't something you're born into. It's something you build. One day, one choice, one moment of love at a time. And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story, consider joining our community by subscribing. It means the world to us. For more stories like this one, check out the recommended videos on screen, and I'll see you in the next one.